today, if we go to your website, and remind me the web address, is it jameshughes.com?
Yes, jameshughes.com. Yes.
And there's reflections on there. And so today we're going to be talking about the reflections that you've had on the grandparent philanthropy as an element in a system of family governance. And
Yes.
I apologize, but I have kind of shortened it, and I call it the grandchild philanthropy project. And I think this is such a powerful piece that, and just everything in this paper resonated with me when I heard it. And when I've introduced it to people, many have said, oh, this is great. And I'll be honest, but many have said this is great, but then they let it sit on the shelf and they forget to do anything with it. Or I've got another way of doing it. And when the first grandmother and grandfather started this project with their grandchildren, she took the white paper and I said, would you like, any help? And she goes, nope, I got this. She was just so excited. And one of the things that she did, and you'll get a kick out of this, I want to share this right away, is she created the donor application fund, how they were going to do that. And her grandchildren at the time were 7 and 9, and there was 4 of them, so 2 7s and 2 9s from different kids. And she did it with all of them, and she made them fill it out in crayon. She goes, I'm doing that part for me because I want to be able to look back. I want them to be in crayon, and so that I can really smile. And just an amazing thing. So I'm ahead of myself because people don't understand what the grandparent philanthropy work is. So let's dive into that. I guess, how did this start for you? Where did this come from?
Well, Michael, I think when your first grandchild is born, the Hindus, a great teacher of mine, a Hindu teacher, said to me, Jay, when your first grandchild is born, you become free to spend the rest of your life in the way that you think best serves you, because you've completed parenting and other aspects. So when I had my first grandchild, I thought, well, I'm sort of free now. My friend taught me this, I'm going to try it out. But what he didn't tell me was that, of course, grandparents and grandchildren have a natural affinity. Now, I'm sure that some people are going to be a little offended by what I'm going to say, but the Chinese have a proverb about this. And the Chinese proverb is that the grandparents and the grandchildren are the natural enemies of the parents. So I have said for years, when people ask me, well, how are you as a grandparent? I say, I spoil my grandchildren like hell, spoil them like crazy. What? Yes, I said, the parents' job is to do whatever but I'm going to just spoil them like crazy. So in that spoiling process, very selfishly, this is really a selfish grandfather. I put my hand up, I'm selfish. I began to think, what would I like to know from them, starting around the age of 6? And I thought, well, how do you engage a grandchild in a conversation? It's a pretty important conversation, without it being heavy. You don't want to do that. And so I thought, well, how can I do this? So then I had the idea, well, suppose I asked them what they were interested in doing for somebody else. And what kind of an answer would I get? So I started essentially, slowly asking them that question. If you were going to do something for somebody else, what would you do? Who would you choose? What would you do? And I began to get better conversations with my grandchildren. So it wasn't, the soccer game wasn't fine and the dance thing was fine, or whatever the activities were, but it's, that's really just surface. Mm-hmm. When you really ask a person with intention who loves you, so there's a connection, you're going to get some pretty good answers. So I began to think, well, maybe there's something in this. And a lot of the answers were philanthropic answers. That is, well, I want to help so-and-so. I love fellow man, I love anthropos, I love fellow man. Well, how can I help somebody? So then I thought, I wonder what it would be like for the group of grandchildren. They were then, let's say, about 12 to 6, 12 in that age range, to actually be in that conversation together with their grandmother and I. No parents, you notice, no parents. Sorry, not welcome. Not welcome, sorry. So I thought for one of my birthdays, I'd try this out. So I did. I said to my children, and we were all gathering for a birthday, I said, I would like to have 2 hours with my grandchildren, just us. Also, one of my grandnieces was coming, so she came too. And they said, well, what are you going to do? You know, I was very anxious. I said, I'll tell you exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask them before they come to write a little paper about something they would like to do to make a gift to someone else, and that they will go and visit that organization. And then write a little paper as an application, as the lady that you were talking about. And of course, the mothers of the 6-year-olds said, oh, I said, look, 2 sentences. But for the 12, actually it was also a 13-year-old, I said, I think I'd like a page. And I said, here's the deal. You come and make an application in front of the other grandchildren and the grandniece. And I'm pretty sure that we're all going to want to give something to that. And so I'll give an age-specific check. That's appropriate, age-appropriate check. And I said, I'm also going to take that opportunity to tell some stories of mine that I would like them to know. Michael, that was one of the great birthdays of my whole life. It was incredible fun. Now, everybody showed up with a little paper. And again, the 6s and 7s had a couple sentences. The 12s and 13s had a page. They'd all gone to the organization. And you know, which is a really important thing. This is a strange thing I'm going to say, but most people don't know how to ask for something. Mm-hmm. And that slows down a lot of really good stuff, because people think, well, if I ask, I'm being selfish. If I ask, I'm not doing what my grandparents told me I should do, be humble. And I mean that. I mean, yes, right. I mean, keep a low profile. But you do need to learn to ask. So hidden in this grandchild philanthropy and in the process is actually young children learning to ask for something in a very safe environment. And then after they asked, and of course, I gave a check to each one that was age appropriate. And by the way, I'm talking about $50 or $100. I am not talking about some ridiculous sum.
Sure.
It was something that was really, $50, Grandpa? Really? Oh, wow, Right. Oh my goodness. So, but then they had to take the check to the philanthropy. And Michael, the parents, of course, then the parents got involved. They then thought this was wonderful. And they would go with the grandchild, to the philanthropy and actually see the executive director of some zoo. There were 2 zoos involved. I can't remember what all the things were now, but they actually shook hands with the executive director, presented the check, and had an experience of somebody saying to them, thank you. That's, again, it's not being grandiose. No. It's learning to be in connection with human beings in a social context of doing good. And in the meantime, their grandmother and I just had so much fun.